Welcome back to another episode of After Hours. This week, we return with the WCBI ladies here. They're looking fabulous on our couches, and we want to give them a warm welcome.
Hello.
And we have some good topics today. We're going to be talking about women breaking glass ceilings. So not too long ago, we saw Vice President Kamala Harris. She's the first woman of color to be the Vice President of the United States. And that is something, you know, no matter what your views are, this is something great, very significant. So let's talk about just how it feels just to be a woman, you know, on the nation's capital for one.
I think it was really cool to see a lot of, obviously at our age, we understand what it means to be vice president and things. But I think for a lot of girls who are a lot younger, I saw a lot of like girls being like, oh, she looks like me, or she's like, I could be a president and things. I babysat a lot of little kids who wanted to be presidents. So it's, yeah, a lot of future scholars. But no, I think it was cool to see the reaction of like people who I know who have a lot younger kids, but then you see that all the way from like our age to those younger kids to like elder adults who have never seen anything like this in their lifetime, when like we have, you know, hopefully so much more life to live, but you know, they may not, they may be on the you know, farther end of their life, and to be able to see that in their lifetime where you've seen, you know, wars and different presidents and things, to see that female vice president is such a big thing for women as a whole.
Yeah, I will say the morning of the inauguration, I was crying buckets, to be honest. I was talking with some of the reporters here actually in a group chat, and we were like just crying together because it's something that you really just never thought you would see in this day and age. And it makes me think about other women just locally who I know here back home and in my life that they've accomplished, not being vice president, but, you know, just holding certain positions. So that's some of my things that I think about.
I mean, I think you see, I mean, we all see Andrea, you know, who has been at WCBI for 20 years, who is a lead female anchor in a small market. And like, I mean, I know she's like my superhero and my queen. I think I speak for all of us when I say that. So it's cool to see people, we have those people to look up to and to think of and see in the future. So.
Yeah. So who are some of those other women? So we have Andrea and countless others, but who are some of the other women in your lives that have made that difference, or who inspire you to kind of go above and beyond?
Oof. Of course, like, I mean, if your mom's a big person in your life, of course, like watching her and just being a mom is just powerful in itself. And I don't know who I can speak for, but I know I can speak for a lot of women or a lot of girls watching their mom just be a superhero. So of course my mom is one of mine.
Because your mom's a teacher as well.
My mom's a teacher.
So that's a superpower in its own to handle children all day.
And of course, if I need her, she's gonna be like, Janae, I'm coming right now. I'm coming right now. I love you. I'm on my way. Like, I don't care. I don't care if I don't know how to get there. I'm gonna be there because I love you. I want to make sure, you know, you're okay at all times. And of course, as a child, knowing that I'm going to have my mom there, and that no matter what, she's going to jump over hoops, or like, you know, do whatever she has to. Like, that's also very powerful, because it makes me want to be, you know, just as strong as she is.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think one for me was, I mean, both of my grandmothers were business women in the 70s and 80s, and they had like boutique stores, and they were always getting into new businesses and adventures. And they continued to work. My grandmother truly would have worked until like the day of her funeral. She could have, but she was a paralegal here in Columbus, and we had multiple people come up to us at her funeral and say she was the best attorney in Columbus. And like, that just really speaks for her character, that she got things done. She didn't like, she would kick down doors to do it. She didn't let anyone talk down to her. She was a boss lady, and she like got stuff done. So I aspire to be like her a lot. And then also my mom was, you know, a stay-at-home mom, but she also had her own career and has been self-employed. And so you see those women and you want to grow. And I've also, I mean, there's the powerful women in my family, but then you also have so many celebrities, you know, like the vice president and things like that, that you look up to. I mean, even women actresses who have become directors and are women who have made their way in the music industry. I think it's just, you know, I think we can look up to a lot of women, but yeah, I think it probably hits closest when you look inward and see those people that you interact with on a daily basis.
I would also say, just kind of bouncing off you and Takia, just a little bit, my mother, my aunties, my cousins who are kind of like my peers because we're all the same age, just to watch them kind of grow into their purpose a little bit, step into their purpose, go into their career, whether it's raising a family or just career related. It's really inspirational to see that. And from a celebrity standpoint, one celebrity besides Beyonce that I
Obviously.
like, so besides Beyonce, is Issa Rae. She's the creative of this series called Insecure. And there's a lot of people of color on that show, and it's in even the show Living Single, so it's like those shows that I can resonate from my perspective as a Black woman, watching TV anchors who look like me, who have natural hair like I do, who wear different hairstyles like I do. It's really inspirational just to see, oh, you know what, she did that, so I can do that, So
absolutely.
that's something that I really like to see.
I second all of the stuff about moms, but as I could go on and on about my mom. She knows how much I love her. So if you're watching this, don't think I don't love you. But I want to talk about just being a woman in a male-dominated field.
Yeah.
Every single woman that has come before me in the field of sports media is a role model to me, and I've been really fortunate to meet a lot of the women that have, paved the way for me to have a job here in the sports department. But one of those women I met at the Super Bowl in 2012, Michelle Tafoya, was the sideline reporter for Sunday Night Football on NBC for the longest time, just recently retired, and was just really sweet to me back then. But I found a picture of us recently and tweeted it out, and she was so kind about it. And I messaged her, and she gave me a really good piece of advice, and that was, don't ever think of it as you're competing as a woman in sports for these jobs. You are just the same as everybody else. You deserve there to be. You deserve to be there the same as everybody else. And just every woman that has come before me in this allowed me to be here is an inspiration.
That's great, and we love that.
I know. If you don't know, Grace is one of our new sports anchors and reporters. She's a newer face to WCBI, and Takia is also a reporter, and so she's been with us for a while at WCBI, but you may not have seen her on y'all. Neither of y'all. This is your first appearance with After Hours. So.
Yes, I'm happy to be here though.
Yeah, we love it
welcome.
We'll do the intro mid-show.
Yeah.
Well, kind of moving into our next question. So, giving the national headlines of recently, maybe a few months ago, how does it feel to be a woman in today's society? Is there any uncertainty? What are some of your goals for the future, too?
I think in the world of 2022, I think since 2020, obviously this nation and this world has gone through so many things, from pandemics to legislative sessions to mass shootings, whatever it may be. I think that we've had to take a lot of changes and really navigate that with no guidebook. There's no guidebook to, hey, the world's going to shut down. Here's what to do next. So I know personally, I felt like I'm trying to navigate an entire new world, a world post-COVID, or a world where we live with COVID, and a world where things are continuing to change daily or hourly. And I think for me, the biggest thing that I can do right now is educate myself.
Yeah.
Whether that be politically, whatever it is, I think I have a lot of learning and growing to do as a 24-year-old woman.
Yeah.
And something that I didn't focus on when I was in college is educating myself on these really important topics. Whether it was just like, well, I think I believe this, or I don't believe that, or, this is how I feel about this. Those personal opinions still matter. And I think the thing is going and looking for resources, understanding what's going on in our nation, and especially as, journalists. Like, I wouldn't consider myself a journalist, but I do like.
You are a journalist.
In a journalism field, I think the way to do that is to educate yourself, focus on what is factual rather than like opinions. And so that's what I've really tried to focus on in the last, 8 months is education, and where can I better myself, and how can I continue to grow that way.
Right. And I really like what you said about education and your research, because as you grow older, you realize what's kind of happening around the nation will affect you, or if you do have children, it will affect your children, this, that, and the third. So I think it's really important to sit down, or even just get online, find those credible links.
Yeah.
But, just do some research. And I think that one thing that I've been struggling with, if I were to run into this situation, how do I face that judgment on it? If I were to get into this situation, what may be some of the views of other people and how can we reach that common ground? So as a woman, I think that that's a lot of the pressure that I've been feeling lately. I'm just kind of growing up and, you start to meet different people from different backgrounds or different, this, that. So that's something that I'm starting to take a lot into consideration and just kind of how to move forward about it.
I think being open to discussion as well is a
Yeah.
huge thing because I think that's how we learn from each other is having those open conversations, whereas we may not believe the same thing, whether that be what color nail polish I should wear to the political parties. We will probably not agree 100% on everything,
Yeah.
but understanding other people's opinions and their values in life, I think is so important to not be so quick to judge people.
Right.
And that's something I've had to step back because I think growing up, our parents were like, well, this is what we believe as a family and this is what you're going to believe. And then you go to college or you get a job and you start to learn different things and say, well, maybe I don't feel that way. And it's, I think, also having that conversation with your family saying like, hey, I appreciate that you see this way. I appreciate that you think I should wear red nail polish, but I personally believe that pink is going to look better with this outfit. Like literally, it could be as small from that. And those are very valid conversations I have with my mom. No, I don't want to wear a pointed toe pump. I want to wear sandals. Like things like truly that is how simple it can be. I think just understanding. I think understanding as a whole and having that is something that I'm really also trying to is like protecting my peace, patience, and understanding.
Right. I like that.
Yeah.
But it also can be kind of scary just finding your own voice sometimes because you want to fit. Well, sometimes people don't want to fit in the crowd, but they don't want to go against the norm. They want to be somewhat of a people pleaser a little bit. So for me, it's kind of scary speaking up on my beliefs or my views because you're afraid of what people may say against that and how they may then go about, treating you. So kind of like what Emma Rose said, just understanding, being open-minded is very, very important.
And I also feel like I'm wanting to come back on both of what y'all said and talking about like the pandemic. And of course, when we were in the pandemic and I was still in college. And then we all know college is a transition. Well, also getting out of college is a transition. So when I first got into university, COVID hit. So once it hit, it was like trying to transition into COVID and being an adult. Trying to learn how to be an adult and also learn how to be that woman that I'm trying to be. And so as an adult and trying to adjust to COVID, it was definitely different. But
I also think that's something that a lot of people don't talk about, and we can come back to that as a topic, but like transitioning from like college to like the workforce, and especially as like young women who are kind of like thrown into this environment. It's like figure it out, like good luck. Lucky enough, like I've had a really great support system and been able to live at home, and like, but I think about it, if you would have taken me in August when I started my first job and been like, you need to live on your own, pay your own rent, do all this stuff, like that is very, very difficult. You go from being in college where you're not as sheltered as you were in high school or middle school, but you are still sheltered by, the friend group you surround yourself with. But you get into this real world and it just can throw you for a loop. And I think that is when a lot of the learning happens.
Yeah. So Grace, what about you? What's some of your views?
I was just thinking about how we talk about all like this protecting your peace and learning as much as possible. And I think one of the harder things too as women is not having our voice heard. And that's why I've kind of made a conscious effort to always listen to those around me, because you don't ever want that to happen to someone else that you're surrounded by. But I just think if we all took more time to listen to each other and hear out each other's views, like I don't have to like the same color nail polish as you.
Right.
But if I respect your opinion and you respect mine, then we're all good. But it's just like listening goes such a long way. And I don't think people understand that enough.
Yeah, for sure. And see, I get like when I get nervous or like I start talking more, or when I'm trying to make my point like come across, I start talking more, it's just, so you have to find that line and be like, okay, like make that conscious effort to be like, okay, I understand what you're saying. And then maybe have questions, follow up. Like
you can learn so much too by just listening, because I didn't look at that the way that you did. And now I see this and it helps me open up my perspective.
Yeah.
you learn a lot by listening, so I love that.
And I also like to say speaking up is something we should all do. Now, do it within your own comfort zone. just don't blab something out because you feel like you have to, but just start speaking up for yourself and others. Be the voice for the voiceless. If they don't feel comfortable, just speak up for someone, male or female. I know we're doing all women after hours, but it can go both ways. So, just
And I
do
think
that.
that's one thing too is I like a personal fear. I hate confrontation. I hate having to confront like y'all have heard me say this a million times, like you could hit me with your car and I would apologize for being in the way. Like I have I'm so sorry. And I need to make sure that I am like my own person and can stand up for myself and say, look, this is making me uncomfortable. I don't like how this is being done. Otherwise, I will just sit and like rot and be like in my own mind and brain about everything if I don't speak up for myself. So I'm really trying to make like a conscious effort to be like, hey, I didn't appreciate when you said that to me, or I don't like when this is happening.
Right.
Which is very, very hard because I have just an incredible fear of people being disappointed in me. And I think that goes too with like sharing your views with people is like, well, I don't want you to be disappointed in me or think of me
Yeah.
differently because I think differently than you do.
Gotcha. But also, and like you said, but if you let that fester, it can build into something unhealthy.
And resentment.
Right.
Yep.
Right. All right. All right. So does anyone else have any other comments?
I mean, I
about
have
tonight's
one more
topics? Yeah.
question. Like coming back from Emma Rose, do you ever feel? I feel this way, so I'm asking you if you feel this way. Talking about like if someone did hit you with the
Right.
car, and then you're just like, I'm sorry or whatever, and then I always say sorry when it's not even my fault, but I also feel guilty when I do speak up because I'm like, maybe I shouldn't, maybe that wasn't the right time.
Like maybe
to
they were having a
speak
bad
up.
day.
Yeah,
Maybe something was going on. I do.
And I agree.
I'm trying to definitely trying to make that change too. Like I was not in the wrong. Like you hit me with your car, i.e. you were in the wrong. Like you need to be paying attention. I also though need to be paying attention.
Right.
I think also looking, reflecting, blame, whatever it may be. But yeah, I think that's definitely something that I'm continually working on into this exact moment of being able to stand up for myself
It's a hard
because I
habit to
don't do
break.
that. Because I've either had people that have stood up for me, whether that be my parents or grandparents, and so I've never really had to like stand on my own 2 feet. And that's another thing, like coming into your 20s and like being this woman, like I have to stand up for myself. I am my own advocate because if I don't advocate for myself, nobody else is going to.
All right. And I think tonight's biggest takeaway of what's going on in the world, whatever you believe, whatever your political status is, it's important to just be aware. Be aware of what's going on in the nation's capital. Be aware of the legislative stuff that's going on. Be aware of your local stuff that's going on. Again, male or female, just speak up, share your views, and just respect anyone else's who may not look the same as yours on your docket. So I think that's a good takeaway. Now, Emma Rose, tell everyone where they can find us.
Yeah, if you want to, speak your truth to us, you can find us at After Hours WCBI on all of our social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We are also a podcast now, so you can listen to any of these lovely episodes and any of our former episodes on a podcast. You can listen to it on your walk, educate yourself on whatever it is that we're talking about, whether that be, legislative sessions or, who's who or prom pictures, whatever it may be. Find us on podcast anywhere you can stream podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, whatever it is.
We are there.
We are there, and you can listen to us.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We will see you back here next week.